Hey guys, Linda here. I want to share with y'all something cool that I just discovered. I was meditating over some different emails that I've received of people that are going through some really hard times, like I went through last year, and they can't hear God, they can't feel His presence, and it seems like no matter what happens, they can't get into His presence. And they're like, at home in their own environment and just being alone with God and still can't enter into His presence. And I remember going through that last year when I was going through really hard stuff. And so I began to pray and ask God, what's the deal with this? We are your people, we're your children. Should we not be able to walk in your presence at all times? And I could see in my spirit that being in the presence of God, pretty much all the time, communing with God in your spirit and your mind, and basically feeling close to Him is the norm. That's how we should feel all the time. We should be able to worship and enter into His presence at any time. That shouldn't be a hard thing for us. And so I started to look back over last year and the things I went through, what was going through my head at that time, what I was thinking about and everything. And the Lord showed me something. He showed me that even though, because my question was, why are you not talking to me? Why could I not hear you all of a sudden? Because I'm used to hearing God frequently, and like, where'd He go? And I think a lot of people are going through that right now as they're entering some, going through some really hard times. And if you've been in a hard time for a long time, and it gets tough, y'all. When it drags on for months and months, and you can't see anything change, and you don't know where God went, it is hard to hang on to your faith. Even if you have a lot of faith, it's hard. So, what I believe that the Lord showed me is in the time when I got into the despair and the despondency, and I mean, it was just, I was in so much physical pain and so much was going on that I just felt I was under this tremendous attack. And I was under attack. I got into doubt. I got into speaking negatively. I got into, despair. Bitterness tried to creep in, and I am not a bitter person. I've never been a bitter person, and that's something I've always really fought against because I saw that happen to other people. I'm like, I do not want to be like that. And I thought about that, and I thought, okay, well, no wonder I couldn't hear from Him, because any kind of sin erects a wall between you and God. Any kind of sin. Any sin that you know. I mean, I'm not saying, okay, if you just got into the walk and you don't know something's sin, that maybe God will let you not hear from Him for a while so He can show you you're in sin. But especially for those of us who've been in the walk for a while, we know not to get into doubt. We know not to give in to despair and, speaking negatively of bitterness and things like that. And the Lord showed me I had gotten into those things. Was I under attack? Absolutely, I was under attack. The devil saw where I was, and he's not going to miss an opportunity to shoot some arrows at you. And he shot, and he shot the arrows, and they landed. And I was kind of down for the count for a little while. I couldn't hear God. I didn't really understand how to get back up, and He beat me down good enough that, I was pretty weak when I finally did rise back up. But any kind of sin, even doubt, even getting into despair when you're beat down, is still unbelief in some form. And unbelief is going to separate you from God like any other sin. It's going to erect it. It's like your sin is unbelief. It's like you're holding up a hand and saying, no, Lord, I'm going to do it my way. I know you said not to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. And even if you're doing that subconsciously, the wall still goes up. And you still are not going to be able to hear God. David, this is a famous passage after David got into sin with Bathsheba. In Psalm 51:11, he said, "Cast me not away from your presence, and take not your Holy Spirit from me." He knew, David knew, that getting into sin would cause God to take His presence from you. So, after I repented, and I came out of that, and I said, no matter what, I'm just going to believe God. I'm just going to believe God. And I started fighting against the attack. And it was a weak fight to begin with for the first few days, but then it got stronger and stronger. And I called my mentor, and I asked her to pray for me. When I did those things, I believe that God renewed a right heart in me. And that's why I came all the way out of that. And that's all gone now. And I'm not being, plagued with, thoughts of despair and despondency and things like that. And now, most people would think that I would be. I had one day the other day where I really had to fight. And it was the day that I found out that my unemployment had ended. And it ended sooner than I thought it was going to end. And I found out very suddenly, it's like, whoa, this is not good. But I knew that that was coming. So I knew that at some point I would have to make the transition from having half enough income to having absolutely no income and believe God for everything. And so I'm in that place now, and I'm like, okay, Lord, we knew this was coming. I know that you're trying to deliver me from the paycheck system. Let's just get on with it. And I said, I'm just going to go on like I have an income, because I know you're going to bring the money from somewhere. I don't know where, but I know you are. And so you walk out your faith, no matter where you are. You have to refuse the doubt. You have to refuse the you can't get angry at God. You can't let yourself get into despair, because when you do that, you are committing sin. And when you commit sin, the wall goes up between you and God. He can't talk to you. You can't hear him. How's he going to get anything to you? How's he going to answer your prayers for what you need if there's a wall up between you and him? And, that's where I had gotten to. And, at that time, if you had said, are you in sin? I would have said no, because I didn't think I was. So if you watch this video and you say, no, that's not true, I'm not in sin, look again, because I didn't think I was, and I was, y'all. I wasn't thinking about, the doubt and the things like that, and the attack came so heavily that I got into those things and didn't really realize what I was doing. And I was speaking a lot of negative things. And at some point, after you doubt, your trust is broken. You stop trusting God. And you get into, you start really moving into unbelief. And I think we really have to fight against that in the really hard times. When we're, maybe we're in the land of famine, we're in the land of financial famine, or, we're just, you lose your job, you lose your house, you lose something that you were believing God you weren't going to lose. Well, maybe God has, a better plan. And I think that we just have to believe no matter what. I think we just have to refuse the doubt, and we have to tell the devil, no, I'm not going to doubt no matter what. He's still God, no matter where I'm at. He can still pull this thing out. But only if I stay standing on my feet, armored up, and fighting against all this nonsense that the devil's trying to talk to me about. So I just want to share that with you guys, because I looked back at several different times in my walk when I felt like I really couldn't hear God. And every single time I can identify at least one area that I found out later I was in sin. At least one. Even if it was, I can remember one time it was pridefulness, and I didn't realize I was prideful. But my heart was hardened in that area, and so I couldn't see it. And this last year, and you have to look back at your trials and try to pull whatever good out of them that you can and learn from them. And this last time was, the doubt, and the speaking negative, and the getting into despair. That's not from God. Obviously, that's not from God. So we have to refuse anything that's not from him. We have to take every thought captive. We have to stand on his word and stand on his word and stand on his word, no matter how long it takes. Because it does sometimes take a while. He's still God. He can still pull it out. And however long it takes, it takes. But if you get into doubt and you get into despair, he can't pull you out at all, because he's got no faith to work with. And it's not his fault if you're not believing. It wasn't his fault I wasn't believing. It was my fault, because I listened to what the devil said, and I entertained it. I should have cast it down like that as soon as it came, and I should have done it every time, and that wouldn't have taken hold of me. And I wouldn't have spent those months being in despair, which probably increased my physical pain. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Please leave comments if you've had a similar experience, or what you think, because I'm hoping this will help somebody that's going through something hard. So God bless you. Thanks for watching.